Hey guys, welcome to the Whimsical Workshop. In this video, we're going to be making Doodles, an advent calendar that we can put our treats in for Christmas. So let's get started. That was like our 15th take. Yay! So now that Doodles is off taking her nap, it's time for me to get to work on her advent calendar. Daryl over at Andover Fabrics was kind enough to send me this great group called Yappy Christmas. Here's the advent calendar panel. So I'm going to show you how to put this together and how to do box seams. So if you've never done a box seam, that is mainly what we're going to focus on. And then I'm going to make sure that we do a little border on the outside. And they were kind enough to send me two, so I am going to do a giveaway for the advent calendar and some coordinating fabrics to go with it. So on that vein, let's talk about the coordinating fabrics. So these are the fabrics they sent. Let's move this out of the way so you can see. This first one is super cute. It's just patches of scenes from the fabric. Then we've got the gray dogs with presents, and I just love that. I mean, this one kind of looks like Miss Doodles, little gray. She's not gray like that, but close enough. We'll say that's her. Then they've got the dogs with the Santa hats. Same print as the gray and white. Same print as the red and gray, which I think is cuter. The hats pop off a little better. And then I ordered some Dotty fabric to go as my inner border. So I'm going to do the calendar, the inner border, and then we have to figure out an outer border, whether I'm going to go easy and just do an outer border, or if I'm going to figure out a way to piece these little patches with the fabrics. We'll see how motivated I am after I finish the calendar. And they also sent me these lovely basics to go with it. Kind of ties it all together. So let's get the advent calendar cut out and the inner border cut out, and then we will address the outer border after we get that put together. Alright guys, so I have this turned sideways so you can see it a little bit better. The advent calendar panel comes with the actual advent calendar, and then it has these little strips that match the little pockets down here. So we need to cut out the pockets as a strip, and then we're going to fold them, accordion fold them, and I'm going to show you how to do that, and then we're going to stitch them down to make them the little pleated pockets that you could put treats in, well in my case dog treats, but whatever you'd like in yours. The advent calendar does come with fully printed instructions as well as an illustration to show you how to do a box pleat, but I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in and show you how I do it. So the first thing we need to do is cut off the pockets. I'm going to cut right on the red line. So the red line is going to be part of our selvage. We're going to not have that in our calendar. But you can see you'll still have 1/4 of an inch showing all the way around. So let's get this cut. So this whole thing, we're going to cut on the red frame. Squaring it up if needed. Remember, these panels come rolled on a bolt. They get stretched, they get twisted. Sometimes you're going to get one that's super twisty. You can try twisting it in the opposite direction to kind of straighten it out, or just follow the printed line and it will straighten out when you go to quilt it. Because it was straight at one point, it just gets twisted on the bolt. So we decided, since poor little Doodles, I mean, she lives the life of luxury here, so I'm not sure how poor she is, and she is a huge dog, so I'm not sure how little she is, but Miss Doodles does not have a Christmas stocking or advent calendar or any kind of goodies for Christmas. And seeing how we're going to be doing Christmas in July all month this month, we're going to kick it off by making her this adorable advent calendar. So if you are watching this when I first post it, just know that we have a lot more Christmas videos coming up soon. And if you're watching this way after the fact, there's probably a bunch of Christmas videos posted for you to go watch. So either way, they'll be there. If they're not there now, they will be there soon. And I will put a link below on how to win the advent calendar panel and fabrics. So if you are interested in getting one of these for yourself, make sure you look below on how to enter to do that. And there we go. So this guy is ready to go. I might clean it up a little bit. It's a fine line between following the printed line and following my ruler, straightening it out. So that's it. So we're gonna go ahead and take that over to the ironing board and we'll press it. And now we have our pocket strips. Now the one little mistake people can make, and it's not horrible because then you can just fold under the edges, is they try to cut out individual pockets, and you don't on these advent calendars. You cut them as a strip. So you see here this little scissor logo there. We're just gonna follow that down. So you're only cutting the solid lines, not the dotted lines. And I am going to use my ruler to try to keep this as straight as I can get it, because it'll just make the whole process a little bit easier. So there, and I just remembered, if you trim off these two sides first and then cut them, you don't have to trim off the shorts on all 4 pocket rows if you do that first. So let's do that first. Alright, so the next step is, now that we've got everything cut and I pressed out all my wrinkles, is you press over the top edge of each pocket to the colored square and press it. So now that all of these are pressed, I'm going to take them over to the sewing machine and top stitch that edge to keep that fold in there. So let's head over there. Alright, so over here at the sewing machine, I am sewing on a Bernina 570, and I am going to use the number 10 edge stitch foot. I really, really like this foot. They have edge stitch foots for most brands of machines, so even though this is the Bernina one, I'm sure if you don't have a Bernina, there's one for yours. You know it's the edge stitch foot. It's a tongue twister. You know it is the edge stitch foot if it has this little flange in there, because that is going to be the guide you either press your fabric up against or you put in your seam. That guide helps you stay straight when you're trying to do a finished edge on something. So let's go ahead and put that on. I have moved my needle position over 3 clicks to the left. So on a Bernina it's a -3. And I'm going to take my piece and I'm going to align the flange that we were talking about with the edge of my fabric. Because the needle is moved over to the left, I just follow here and it'll be an even space all the way down. So let's just go ahead and top stitch this. This is one of my favorite feet to use. I'm also probably going to use it to sew the box pleats in, because I'll put the needle position to the center and use the flange as my guide to follow the dotted line. There you go, that's what that top stitch looks like on there. It just gives it a finished edge, it keeps the fold folded, and so I'm going to go ahead and repeat that for the other 3 pocket strips. Now that we've got all our pockets top stitched, it's time to do our box pleat and attach it to the calendar. So the first thing we need to do is you press under each short side up to the colored box and press it. It's easier just to do the short sides so I don't forget to do them, so I tend to do those first. Alright, now that we have the short sides done, it's time to do the box pleats. So first thing I do is I press the fabric, I fold the fabric back so it aligns with one colored edge. So there's the colored edge. We're going to press right on that line where I folded it. And I go through and I do all of the colored fold pressing first. Moving the first one out of my way, I just bring the next one down. Same here, just you can see how it's kicking out behind me. I just find this easier, and then we're going to go back and do the box pleats at the same time. You will get a, once you see how I'm doing it, you will get a flow going yourself, and you may change the way you do it, but I find this the easiest way. All right, so to do a box pleat, we have our first fold right here that we pressed. You're going to take that fold and align it with that dotted line. And then you're going to take the second fold over and you're going to align that. So you're creating another little fold in between while you're doing it. So edge of the box to the dotted line, edge of the box to the, oh, I'm like, why isn't this going? It's caught underneath. So edge of the box to the dotted line, edge of the box to the dotted line, press your box pleat, and then I use a binder clip and I clip all the layers. So now I'm going to show you on the edge there, that edge to line, and it creates this funky, weird fold, and that is called a box pleat. So that's the secret. We're going to go ahead. I'm going to do the rest of these box pleats. And I find the Wonder Clips are really handy to hold them. And I also find it easier to do both sides at the same time and then press versus trying to get your little finger in there and then it gets burnt. And yeah, it's just not fun. I can't say box pleats are my favorite to make, but I do like the look and the usability it gives you when you use usability. I hope that's a word. It makes it a much more user-friendly pocket because it'll create a pleat, which means you can put wider things in here, which Doodles will be thrilled. It means I can put bigger treats in her calendar. All right. So once we get all our box pleats done, which we're going to get right here, the next step is to flip this over. Make sure your block, forgot my last binder clip. This is where the binder clips are super handy. So the binder clips are going to hold that box pleat in place for me while I turn the bottom edge up and press the bottom. And this fold, this pressed fold, will help hold those box pleats in place until we get them sewn down. Okay, now that we've got everything pressed, we can position this guy on the calendar. So let me just press this last guy. And you see when I fold it over, I'm grabbing the entire box pleat together and kind of holding it in place so that when I press it, it stays nice and boxy. That's what we want. We want a box pleat that's boxy. Okay, so now that we got those, you're going to go ahead and we're going to pin it on our calendar, which I've done here. You see I put a pin to hold that there. These clips are still in place, and then I use the dotted line as a guide to do the bottom, and you can see how I pinned that as well. So we're going to go over to the sewing machine. I'm going to top stitch down the two short sides along the bottom, and then we're going to stitch down this center seam. Now you could layer this up with quilt batting and backing and sew these pockets on at the same time, and that would quilt this whole bottom section for you, and then you could just go ahead and quilt the top. I'm actually quilting by check today. This is going off to a long armor, so I'm going to go ahead and put the pockets on and get everything put together, and then give it to her to quilt. If you're going to do that, you will need to have all your borders on your calendar before you put the pockets on so that you're quilting everything at the right size. All right, so let's head over to the sewing machine and I'll show you how to do a box, sew the pocket on. All right, so we're over here. I still have my top stitch foot on and I still have the needle 3 clicks to the left. So we're just going to top stitch down the short sides across the bottom and up the other short side, just like we did the pocket tops, and removing my removing my pins as I go, and then at the top I'm going to reinforce it with a back stitch. So we'll just do a couple stitches and then reverse stitch, because that's where the most usage will happen, is right there. All right, and then when we get to the corner, I'm stopping just shy of the bottom so I can rotate the corner and still have my top stitch in place aligned. And now when you do this top stitch, it's going to hold all of your box pleats in, so you can remove the pins as you go. And you can see as I sew over each box pleat, I'm holding it closed with my finger, just kind of keeping it all aligned. Go slow with this. It's a lot easier to go slow and not have to rip it out than to go fast and catch one of those box pleats and they flip up on you, and it's just not fun. So slow and steady is the way with this one. And then we'll just top stitch our pocket. All right. And I'm going to reinforce this corner. Okay, so now we need to create the pleats, because you can see right now it's still just an empty pocket. So to do that, you will go up here. And this is where I like to use this foot for the stitching, use that blade on the dotted line. So I'm going to need to put my needle position back to 0, put the blade on top of the pocket, and pull the two sides out of the way, and stitch. Now again, I'll reverse stitch a couple stitches because this is the top of the pocket and I want to reinforce it. And I go all the way down to the bottom and knot it. So I'm just going to repeat that for all the other pockets, and then I'll add the 2 rows and we will have the center of our advent calendar done. All right, so here it is with all its little pockets done. And this centerpiece is just so cute. As I was sewing, I was thinking about the outer border, the 2 outer borders. I am going to definitely put this polka dot as the resting strip that'll go up there. I'm debating on whether I'm going to just trim a 1/4 inch away from those triangles so it goes right up to the triangles. I think that I may be doing that. And then out of our pretty fabrics, I'm thinking I'm going to cut one of these for each corner. So we'll just have a corner of 4 of these. I mean, they sent me a 1/2 yard. I certainly didn't need a 1/2 yard to do just that, but I'm going to pick my 4 favorites and put them in the 4 corners. And then if those are in the 4 corners, I think... I mean, I love the idea of red out here, but I really think this print is super cute. So I think the cute print's gonna win. Let's just try that. That's too many dog heads. That's too much dog heads. So maybe what we'll do then, these are the basics they sent. Maybe what we'll do is we'll just bind it. We'll just bind it in red. All right, so with all those decisions made, we now need to figure out how wide these are, like how wide do I need to make my whole border and my inner border, and what I need to cut. So these measure 5.5 by 5 3/4. I think that's so you can have some seam allowance when you cut these apart. I never understand when fabric designers make everything rectangular in an industry where everything is square. I guess it's, you know, thinking outside the box, but I don't necessarily always get it. So if that is the case, I'm going to cut these at 5.5. making my border 5.5. I'm going to do the inner border 1.5. Let's see. So this is a 1 inch. Let's do this. Pull that up. That's about 5 inches. So 1 is too, it's not enough of an inner border. So we have to use a 1.5. So 1.5, 5.5, 5.5, and our binding. So I'm gonna get everything cut, put it all together, and I'll show you what I get at the end. What do you think of your calendar? You like it? Is it pretty? Is it for Doodles? Alright, so there it is, Miss Doodles' advent calendar. She seems to be in front of it. Just give her a second. There we go. All done. It's got the little dog pockets. It's ready to go off to the quilter. And then at Christmas, we will put a treat in each one. Maybe not all at once, or she'll eat them all at the same time. But I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. Again, this is Yappy Christmas from Andover. I will put a link below on how to win the panel yourself, and I will throw in some of the extra fabrics I had along with the panel. Check below in the description for the video for the links to do that, and we're going to send this off and get it all quilted for her just in time for Christmas. So thanks for watching.